First of all, good evening, all of you. Thank you for making it up in such a cold Delhi. Delhi's cold. It can be scorched. It can be, very difficult. But thank you so much. So before we start everything, I personally feel, and that is what we practice at our outlets also, that we always need to educate our clients and our guests about whatever we do, whatever we serve, because that is how you give an experience to our client. So similar way in terms of the traditionality of food, I mean, of course, authentic is a major umbrella term. However, we know that every communication flows through and comes into a grapevine, and so there is nothing authentic, but there, of course, traditional stuff that stays along. So we are in a humble approach. I am in my humble approach to make two dishes for you, which are fairly rustic and Kashmiri style. One is Kashmiri style dum aloo, which is completely different from the regular dum aloos that we usually get, and more of a fabrication, which is more of a fabrication of a dum aloo. So that is one part. And another dish which is kind of a very less spoken of recipe, that is Soont Wangun. So what does that mean, Soont and Wangun? Wangun means aubergine or eggplant or bangan, and Soont means apple. So both of the ingredients are used readily to make up the another rustic dish, which is great with a bowl of rice. You can enjoy it, and it gives a very comforting and homely feel. So we'll start by frying the dum aloo, but before that we need to pierce it up. In terms of it, we have to pierce it a bit with the knife. So now what Rohit is doing is he's trying to pierce it up. If you can focus on that. So what piercing does is that it allows you to kind of ensure that it cooks from within. The aloo, the potato cooks from within. So in that case, what it helps is that the starch from within the potato does cook in, and then once it comes out, we are going to pierce it again, and I'll explain to you why it would be done that way as well. So frying it is on a medium high heat, because what we are willing to do, it is already boiled and peeled. The potatoes are already boiled and peeled. So what we are just trying to do is we are going to shock fry them in mustard oil. So when it comes to Kashmiri cuisine, we use mustard oil specifically because of the climatic condition. Mustard oil always gives you warmth. So we do know that with the snow and mainly cold climatic conditions, it is a very go-to choice of fat for cooking, and it does give warmth to people. Even though we are today trying to propagate the vegetarianism of the Kashmiri cuisine, but the non-vegetarian items and muttons, if we have to cluster out and divide the Kashmiri cuisine, it is in two parts. One is the Pandit cuisine and one is Muslim cuisine. So the Pandit cuisine, they do not use onion and garlic, but the Muslim cuisine, they use small onions which are called as pran, which is very much used. Apart from that, if you can have a look at the pantry, so we are not using any onion, garlic, tomato, or any sorts of pastes. We are only using yogurt and literally a handful of spices, because what happens is that as we start going into and learning deep about the cuisine, we understand that the more you add to something, the more you take away from it, the more you reduce, because then there are multiple ingredients coming together. They might kind of create a confusion, but let's say if you have 3 or 4 ingredients, they outshine and give. So if I have to correlate it with standardization of recipes, I have personally learned it from my household, because if you have the food at any Kashmiri household, it is more or less the same. Of course, replicating mother's food is a challenge, but it will be my try to go near that. So let's get started. So yes, so after piercing it, so now we'll deep fat fry all the potatoes here, and until they are slightly golden brown and ready to be dipped into the gravy. So without further ado, we'll start a bit on the gravy part as well for that. So again, for the gravy, or I would say just to coat it up, actually there are no gravies as such in Kashmiri food. Nowadays, of course, demand and supply is something different, and a demand of the customer is that they would always like to have some sauce or a gravy or a curry along. but usually the sauce or the curry is not there, because the food that is cooked is usually cooked in its own juices, and the key ingredient or the key protein or the key vegetable outshines in the cooking. So that is the basic agenda. So we are adding some mustard oil. So we'll lightly heat the oil right now, and to which, going back to the simplicity of the dish, we'll be adding numerous spices to it, which won't be above and beyond. So let's say we have taken yogurt, to which we add a good helping of Kashmiri red chili powder, because this is where you get the color, but you do not get the major, spiciness from it. So that is what it helps. So not letting my oil burn, we'll add the whole spices. So we add some cumin. We have added few cloves. Again, clove is another spice that does give you a lot of warmth. Some black cardamom, dalchini, again a very important. You can just break it up and into it, and we'll just allow it to go. And we have cardamom pods. You can just slightly squeeze it or pound it if you want, or you can add it right away. It is perfectly fine. So we add it here, and we'll cook it up with. So while the spices are slightly getting the aroma, so we add a little pinch of turmeric. Now this is something, it's a chefed up thing, usually people don't add it. I add it because it ensures that the curry does not go darker in shade. So that is what it is, but the pinch, anything beyond will not be suffice. Then soft powder, which is dry fennel, again very important. So what fennel does is, fennel gives you, fennel is something which is having a cold kind of quality, and ginger is warm. So जिसको अगर हिंदी में हम बोले तो इसकी ठंडी, सौंफ की ठंडी तासीर होती है, और ड्राई जिंजर पाउडर जो है उसकी गर्म तासीर होती है. तो that is why it is added, to have a balance. Then dry ginger powder, not too much of it, because over addition may make it go bitter. तो अब खड़े मसाले होते ही we'll just give it a decent mix. What about the aloo? They are nearly there. So if you can have a look, it is kind of turning orangish, but as we cook along, it will gain more of color. The color will deepen up as we continue to cook it. So now we are going to add up the yogurt. And well, even if you're cooking at home, nothing to be wasted. So we'll ensure we don't waste anything from here as well. So here it is. So now after adding yogurt to anything, ensure that we have to continuously stir it up. So stir it up at a medium high, and if we feel that more of red chili is needed, we can add it always. Now there is another ingredient that we add to it, which is hing. Now hing is something which is usually added in tadkas, but in order to have the continuous flavor of it, usually we have it added at this point, so that it ensures you get that pungency of hing, because since we are not using any onion, garlic or ginger in the whole form, we do not have that pungency. So that pungency comes from hing. So hing is added. Now we'll be adding a little salt right now, so that the flavor comes out of it, and we'll adjust the final seasoning at the end so that we get the correct balance. Otherwise, if we add too much of salt right now, it will concentrate and become too salty. So that is something we want to avoid. So all we want to do is we want to make sure that this comes to a boil. Meanwhile, if you have any questions to ask, you can go for it. Any doubts you want to clear or anything that you have, because this induction does take a bit of a time to steam up. So you can throw in some questions if you have.
Any questions?
So the idea is to ensure that you are able to get a good crust after frying. I mean, we are nearly there. It's about 55-60%, but we need to get it way deeper than this so that that good crust is there. Once it becomes crispy and then you kind of prick it again, it becomes much easier to absorb more of flavor. And if you can focus on the sauce for the malu, it is kind of getting more of a darker color now, but it is not there yet. It may take a helping of a little bit more of chili powder, which you can add if the balance is not there, like I can see here. Another aspect of the cuisine which is to be understood is that once you use some sort of a certain traditionality or a certain climatic climate I would say influenced ingredients. So it is a myth that I would say that people say Kashmir is famous for non-veg. It is, and that it is only famous for non-veg. My bad. We have wonderful non-veg items, but yes, the vegetarian delicacies are something which are not really talked about. So it is our humble approach to ensure that we kind of give it a step up so that people can enjoy and relish them as well. And we also do have it at our counter, number 6 from Fraternity Food. So anyone who would like to enjoy a good dinner or have it packed up, please do try and visit the outlet there. Second. Now we can see that the malu is almost done. So I am just adding a bit of water to it, so that once the malu gets into the curry, it will absorb all the it will be well stewed, and since it would be well covered with water, the water should be only sufficient to just cover the alus, not beyond that, because anything beyond that may result in a puddle. So it should only be enough to cover. That's it. I'm adding a splash now. Once we add the aloo, we'll add the remaining. So you
Good
can
evening,
see,
chef.
Yes.
Hi, Devika.
Hi Devika, how are you?
All
Long day
well,
for you.
all well. Yes, long day since 2 days now. So long. So, chef, the Kashmiri cuisine is very different when it comes to aromas, the flavors, and the color. Obviously, color we can all define how do we take it out. But any specific ingredient which you may suggest, which we can use in our daily food to bring that aromatic nature?
Well, I feel fennel powder, like we have it, right, it brings out a good freshness. I mean, it goes great with beetroot. It goes great with any of your curries that you make as such. Or even, like let's say if you have toasted fennel with some stewed fruits, that is again another amazing ingredient one can use. Now, another aspect being, there are like, since you spoke about coloring, so there are 2 other ingredients in coloring as well. So in which we have mawal, which is basically from a coxcomb flower. So that is used as a coloring agent as well. Apart from that, there is another thing called, it's a bark of tree called as Ratan Jot. So which is basically immersed and steeped in desi ghee to bring out all the color. So that is also used by few, but certain people demand it to be banned. Some say it is banned, but yeah, there is a big debate. Some people still use it. So I mean that part is there, but it does give a very vibrant color. But overall, I mean these ingredients do give a distinct level. Apart from that, there is another thing called, it's a cake of masala made called or as var masala, which can be, so you can just add a little bit of, you know, a piece of it, basically like picking it out of it. Everyone, I hope people can Google it and understand what a var masala is. That will be very simple. VER, var masala. So that can be used readily as well. So it's another wonderful thing to be used.
Question.
He's doing it with a knife. If you do it with a toothpick, it will go.
No, sir, we have pricked it prior. It's just that he's giving
more
slightly.
spongy.
Yeah, I get your point, sir. We did it with the toothpick prior. It's just that we are giving it a near dish because we don't want it to break apart as well at this point of time. That's why he's using a knife. So a fair precision to ensure it doesn't happen. But it has been pricked prior to it as well. So what happens is that, you know, while boiling and frying, you know, the pores do open up and then they close. So we ensure that, you know, that everything gets into it. So that's the key motivation. So meanwhile, he's also put in the bangan for boiling.
Chef, any specific herb which is Kashmir specific? You will not find it anywhere else.
Kashmir, we use saffron, but if you talk about herbs,
Saffron is
used,
yeah.
but saffron, we get very good saffron from Pampur. I'm sure sir seems to be from army. He must be having a good experience or knowledge about Pampur. Then apart from that, there is another good quality, I would not say herb, but there is a guchi, which is a mushroom. It's something which is a pure love of labor. It's about it's one of the most expensive mushrooms in the country, about 40,000 a kg, and it is pure love of labor because it grows near the pine trees. So you have to pick it up from there. And let's say when it is matured. So let's say if he's someone who is, you know, looking for them, I'm someone who's looking for them. Let's say he finds it before me, and I have been, you know, kind of poaching it since long. So I mean, it does, you know, bring about a great sort of a story along with it as well. That, you know, even though the particular people have that thing in them, that, you know, that they have seen the herb, that mushroom, but they cannot pick it because someone else has already picked it up, and then it is sold. You can easily get it. All these ingredients you can easily get at INA market. If you want Kashmiri, if I have to give you Durga masala store in INA market, you will get everything that I have mentioned right here. So that is the main aspect. In terms of herbs, we do use dried aged herb. We use dried pudina. Dried pudina usually is mixed with yogurt and added as a chutney with a lot of non-vegetarian items as well. Now, since we have been cooking it for long enough, now we have called it dum aloo, but dum basically means slow cooking for a longer period of time. We may not have a lot of time to cook it, but we'll start cooking it on a dum right now. Rotis, kulchas, I mean, in terms of the bread culture, we don't usually have the breads with the with our you know with the meals. It's mainly served with rice. But you know, there is another kandur culture which is in Kashmir, and there are a lot of kandurs in Delhi NCR as well, where you can get these wonderful breads freshly baked from a tandoor, in which you have kulchas, you have tilvor. Tilvor is basically looking like a donut with sesame topped. It is cooked in the tandoor. An absolute delight if you have it right from the oven. And that is, they usually have it with the bread, usually with the noon chai, which is a pink colored tea which is made with salted flavor. And that is, sorry? I'm sorry. No. So basically with the tea or for breakfast, people usually prefer having that, or as a snack. So there are kulchwor, I mean there is bagir khani, which is another good bread. Then there is gyauts, which basically made with ghee. So there are a lot of Kashmiri breads as well, and they're fairly affordable as well wherever you go and find them. I mean, you can get a bag full in about 150 to 100 bucks. So, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, sorry, that's our counter. Yes, yes. So what happens is that, if any one of you is staying in Gurgaon, in Kanaigaon market, you can find a wonderful tandoor. It is there. They serve it everywhere. You can go in the morning and have the best breads. I mean, the smell is so enticing that you will enjoy it even by the smell of it. So now, since this dish is in progress, we are trying to fry it up. My sincere apologies that it is taking long since we are operating on an induction. Now in Kashmiri cooking and places, it is usually cooked on either slow fire or on wood charcoal, or in our industrial way, we usually cook it on a butane-based LPG gas. So, I mean, would regret the inconvenience and delay, but I'm sure you will like the final product in this case. So, in this case, what happens is that we have basically cut the aubergine lengthwise. We put it in salt water so that it doesn't oxidize, because if it comes in contact with air, it goes dark and goes oxidized. Same with the apple, same was done. And then we have pat dried it before frying so that the oil doesn't splatter. So that is the basic thing. And the another aspect which I would like to bring out in the cuisine is that usually these 4 spices are used for making everything. I mean, I hope you can, I would invite all of you to come to our counter number 6 and try out the vegetarian Kashmiri food that we are selling across today. So, in which whether it is a yellow colored thing or a red colored thing, you have dry ginger sont, saunf, and usually if it is not white, turmeric, a standby. So these 2 are used as standard, and rest of the spices are there. So we are nearly getting there. So now what we have to see is that the oil should just separate out on top. It is oily, of course, yes. I will also have to, as a chef, it becomes my responsibility to share the flip side that people usually who have been going to the Kashmiri weddings, people from the Kashmiri backgrounds do end up, who are usually entering their 60s nowadays, do end up having a lot of coronary artery disease because of excessive consumption. So once a while it's okay, or a portion control is something which is always important and advised, because with a lot of oil floating across, it is there. Of course, at homes we don't make it so oily, but yes. Otherwise, if we have it, a lot of common patients happen to us, because I do know one family friend who is a cardiologist, so he does have a lot of people from the community visiting. So that's one part of it as well. We should also propagate healthy and sustainable eating habits as well, because that is something very important to ensure. So now he's fried it up, and let me have a look. It is smelling good, but it will take a little bit of time since it is cooking on dum. Another aspect is that if you cook something which is more of a, Kashmiri dish, we also cook certain things like yakni. So it's a pure curd-based sauce as well. So you can just give a tadka, same tadka, add yogurt with sont and saunf. That's it. And you can add any vegetable you want into it, and it will be a hit. I guarantee you that. Of course, salt has to be to the point, which reminds me we should add some salt. So now, in order to ensure that we don't break it up, so I will just be moving it across like this, so that we don't break the potatoes. So I believe you might have been to Kashmir many a times. So where all have you served in Kashmir, and what has been your experience? By the way, my dad has also been from the army background, so I do share the same pedigree. Of course, absolutely. And I mean, that's again a hospitable atmosphere. But where all have you served? If you may want to share your experiences with the place and the scenic beauty of the place. Okay. Sorry?
Patan. Patan. I started from Patan, Uri, and all those places.
Okay. I mean, well traveled.
Yeah.
Sopor and every.
Sopor, I've been everywhere. Yeah.
That also again brings about another side of it. But yes, of course, we always need to focus on the good side as well and make the most of it, because food is something which can really unite and bring people together. Hmm? No, no, no. नहीं तो ये तो पकाना है. So the apples will take about 3 to 4 minutes, keeping the name in mind. Please bear with me, everyone. And yes, noon chai. Noon chai basically is a pink tea. Now noon chai is not okay. See, noon chai actually is basically served it is with milk and salt, because salt is also essential for the body, and they top it up. See, the right way of making, people have every way of making it. We also have wonderful noon chai that is served with some khari or puff in Lucknow as well, usually in Hazratganj if I'm not wrong. So what we do is that we roast or toast the tea leaves, and then we add a bit of soda into it, so that kind of helps it, because tea is acidic. If you add soda bicarbonate, anything acid base, it becomes a neutral salt. So that is one part. And then once you add, once you brew it up, and that's the reason you get a pinkish color. Let's say if you, so in that case, you get the pink color, and then we top it with a dollop of malai. That is what people do, and then they dip it with, like we were discussing with ma'am regarding the bread culture. So usually the bread to dunk in it is something, and we do not add sugar. It's like salt is added to it. But in Lucknow also, if anybody finds Kashmir is far off, Lucknow also you get a good quality noon chai. Of course, slightly different in its taste and flavor profile, but a very good thing to try out everywhere. Because see, one form or the other that kind of redefines the culinary heritage in the country. That everywhere we go, we can see and foresee the different types of thing. Eventually, all roads lead to Rome, so we get the same product everywhere. So that is how it has revolutionized the Indian cooking. What I'm ordering. So what we have done is, if you can see, we have just fried it up. So before frying it, it was very, enormous in size. Now it has shrunken a bit. So that's another part of it. Food is also science. So we also have to understand the effect of food and science. So it makes us a better cook. Let's say how you get the yield out of your product. Let's say if you cook something like a dal, it triples in quantity. If you cook something like rice, it doubles in quantity. If you use, let's say saute or fry a bit of spinach, it becomes 1/4 of quantity. Same, mushroom becomes 1/4 of the quantity. So understanding the composition and yield of the food that we prepare, and the effect of heat on it, does evolve our cooking and understanding of food, and also to understand the seasoning aspect of the food. Because let's say initially, if you have 1 kg of palak, you add salt. So as per 1 kg of palak, your salt is sufficient. But when it becomes 1/4, that salt becomes very high in concentration. So we have to understand that, because as you cook things for a longer time, it concentrates the flavor as well. So our apples are done. You can remove it. So now we'll start with our second dish, and then we'll proceed towards the plating. I can see Devika looking at her clock. But cooking does take a bit of patience and time, and we have to give it. Ah. So since another thing that I would like to bring out is I have used a combination of red and green apples in it, the Granny Smith and the regular Shimla apples. The reason being the cooking apples are different and they are out of season right now. So I know, and what has been my major learning as a chef, that you can play with everyone and anything and every ingredient, but you cannot play with the best ingredient, that is the mother nature. So we have to understand that aspect of it, that we have to respect the nature of ingredients, because usually there are certain vegetables that cook in you get the best possible crop and produce in a certain time frame, but not for all. So that is the reason we have used it, because the Granny Smith or the green apples give it a bit of acidity, and the sweetness comes from the Shimla apples. So that is the reason the combination of both is used, and it can nearly give you about 85% to 90% of that experience, that I assure you. So oil, a little generous with the oil. And again, like I said, the spices will be more or less the same. You don't add a lot of different spices, but in this case there's one change. So I will add the hing in the beginning, because the pungency comes from hing, followed by some jeera, then some moti elaichi and long. Now we are going to add some more of moti elaichi, some choti elaichi, and a green chili right now. So moving forward, now I am going to add the bangan, apple to it. So again, a very important step here, not to overdo anything. So what we'll do is we'll go by Kashmiri red chili powder, pinch of turmeric, some fennel powder, oh sorry, some dry ginger powder, and very importantly, it will be followed by a splash of water. Now, if anybody can tell why did I splash water over it? Correct, so that the spices do not burn. So here we'll have the most important ingredient, the salt here. So in this dish, we need not cook it till the entire thing dries up. It will have a bit of, bit of liquid, the cooking liquor with it. So again, same step. Some more apple, why waste? So we are cooking it straight for 3 to 4 minutes, and this will be done. And meanwhile, our dum aloo is on the verge of completion. So he's getting the rice, and we'll start the plating for the entire.
Chef,
Yes.
as dishes in India are interrelated somewhere or the other.
Yes.
Right now, that Bengal apple thing which you're cooking is absolutely Kashmiri.
Correct.
But I, being a Bengali at heart and absolutely Bengali, and there are a couple of other Bengali friends sitting here, fried fish is what is coming to our mind. You know, you
Okay.
fry the fish,
We also have
rohu, and put it in that.
we do have something called as mujhak at our counter today. So we do cook fish with that as well. So it is called as gard muj, which is again another delicacy. And there is, which brings me across to another thing. There is a tradition called as gard bat, which is a good tradition celebrated by all the Kashmiris. So they do give away a lot of fish which is there. So they cook it with muj. So they fry it up, and then in the similar spices they are cooked up and stewed. And I mean, I'm sure you would relish it. Being a Bengali, will give a good fight to Shorshe Bata Ilish. Maybe not that much, but yes, we can try and come near that. If we can focus, we can see the Rogan has started coming out on this one. तो जब ऑयल फ्लोट ऊपर कर रहा है तो इसका ये मतलब है कि we are near the completion of it. Personally, I would cook it for nearly 30 minutes more to get the best flavor out. But I would request all of you to bear with me, as I'm not able to do that. And apart from that, yes, we do have the same at our outlet as well, which you can surely come and try.
Well, I'm not too sure, but just a query. Is zarda part of Kashmiri cuisine?
Zarda, no.
No.
Zarda is more of a Lucknowi or Nawabi kind of zarda. But yes, we have Guchi pulao. We have Kashmiri pulao, of course, which is, I have seen it being abused in many outlets and banquets where people add fresh fruits to it. So in which we add some diced cottage cheese, some dry fruits. And I mean, let's say in any bigger occasion, you have a lot of dry fruits. If you don't have it, it's not, the occasion is not big enough. That is how it is taken as. So lastly, for the finishing, no. We'll add some more of fennel and some more of ginger for the final freshness. The better to add it half and half does ensure, you know, that you have it both the time. रिंग कटर में डाल दे, इसमें कटर में डाल देना. And salt. So this is also cooked up. We have also had our rice cooked up. The best, I'll chef it and plate it up for you, but I would advise take a pile of rice, put everything on top and dig in. That is the best way to enjoy it. ठीक है, डाल दो। तेल डाला. So what we usually do is, in this step, people kind of press the rice. So I would request not to press the rice, because you know the fluffy rice looks very nice. Salt check करना दोनों में. So what I am doing right now, I tasted the salt, but in the professional kitchen, the chef in me will always say कि तू भी salt taste कर ले, ताकि कम हुआ तो इसकी गलती मेरी नहीं. सही है? Taste सही है? पास है? So just to introduce my colleague, he's along with me, Rohit. So he's been working with us since long, and he's like one of the most sincere person I've ever worked with. I learned sincerity from him. So well, another aspect of cooking, teaching, and learning is that the best way to teach is to learn. So I continue to learn every day, and I learn from anyone and everyone. So I learn sincerity from him, because if you tell him something, he does it. So I mean, there are certain qualities of life that a chef life does teach you, but it is also brought about because of the people of different facets, different shapes and sizes and motivations do come into play and meet you through. So you learn a lot with that. We're done. So now what we'll do is there's another step that I don't want to miss out, because I have to keep everyone happy. So it is what we do, how usually you will have the food made outside, and हम सब कहते हैं यार इसमें ऐसा रंग क्यों आ गया और हमारे पास क्यों नहीं आ पाता. So there is one small trick for it. So I've put it at the highest possible setting, the pan, and we'll be adding some mustard oil to it, not too much of it. Now let's say if someone is using Ratan Jod, so what they do is they usually take the mustard oil or the ghee here and add Ratan Jod into it. So the color is actually steeped out of it, and then that is the reason it makes it super red. Many catering people also use mawal, as I explained earlier on, which is a cockscomb flower color. किनारे में डालते हैं ना, ये वाला. It has to nearly smoke up. So उसमें फिर दूसरे पे प्लेट कर दे, और ऐसे ही एक कोने में डाल दे. सुन रोहित. So what we'll do is, instead of chefing it up, we'll put it in one corner so that it again looks good and people can have a homely experience to it, because that is something we all need to look into and play by. कर ले दोनों taste. So now we have some beautiful bangan. Of course, I know many of them, I never liked it growing up, but then as you grow older and the profession comes in, you kind of start appreciating every food that does come to your understanding. Also a little bit of sauce over this. And now, since everyone can see the oil is smoked up, so at this point of time it has to be just quick. Now I'm adding this thing. You get this wonderful red color, and off it goes. And I mean, that is that from us. A very simple and homely plate. Nothing to be super fancy about, but the experience has to be full of with warmth. Everyone, please, anyone who wants to taste can please dig in. I believe you were looking into it. You can come,
Yes.
Devika.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.